I was thinking this week that decisions that we make can change what we do, but difficulties and mistakes that we make change who we are. God works amazingly in those times to change the very fabric of who we are. So one man came to a friend who had just had a heart attack and almost died. And he asked him about it, and he said, "How do you feel about your heart attack?" The man said, "I hate it. It nearly killed me." He said, "Well, would you like to have another one?" "Well, certainly not." "Would you recommend a heart attack to somebody else?" He said, "Absolutely not." Then he said this. He said, "Well, now that you're feeling better, do you treasure your life more than before?" He said, yes, I do." "You and your wife have always had a good marriage, but are you closer to each other now than before?" He said, "Yes." "What about your relationship with God? Has that changed since your heart attack?" He said, "Yeah, I feel a whole lot closer to God than I ever have in my life." Then he said, "In light of all this, how do you feel about your heart attack?" There is a strand of truth that's recognizable in the difficulties of life. Even though we'd never want to retrace those steps, it's amazing how God uses those things. When you think about suffering from God's perspective, it makes perfect sense. You think about things that we would never choose for our life, we'd avoid at all costs, and yet God sees great value to them. I thought this week about forefathers of this country. All the things that have been brought to the surface with the recent elections, and kind of makes you look a little closer at your country. Just imagine them in heaven. Those who got this country going had all this intense desire for the future and for those who would live beyond them, their descendants. If they were having a prayer meeting in heaven, praying for us right now, looking at the people we've become, looking at the future that we're looking at, looking where our hearts have drifted to in our relationship with God, I wonder what they're praying for us. And I think that one of the things they would be saying is, "God, whatever it takes to get their heart back to being your people. That God, whatever it takes to make them turn away from self that they've gotten so entrenched in. Whatever it takes to return them to a place where you can bless them with what really matters." And God knows how to get us there. Paul understood that about God. Paul didn't have all the answers, but Paul had some spiritual eyes that saw at least three things. He saw that dying is ultimately a good thing, but living for Jesus should consume all that we are during our life on this earth.